Okay, noting the time and the presence of a quorum, I call this meeting of the Acton Finance Committee to order. Christy will possibly be joining us, but she's feeling a little unwell. So for now, I will run things. I assume I don't have to read any of the nonsense we've been reading for the last year in our meetings, which is fantastic because we're all here, which is great. It's nice to be in the same room and see everybody's faces, and see everybody healthy.
Acknowledge it as being recorded.
Oh, thank you. This is being recorded by ActonTV. Our first meeting agenda item is citizens' concerns. I don't see any concerned citizens in the room unless you have something to say. It's very nice to have our audience here tonight. And thank you to ActonTV for being here as well.
Can I say something
Yes.
as a citizen?
Please.
This just got approved last night at the board meeting. India's 75th Independence Day will be doing a flag raising at Acton Town Hall on August 1st, Sunday at 11 o'clock. If anybody wants to join us, they are welcome to join us.
Do you know-
August 1st, 11 o'clock?
What is it?
Yeah, 11 a.m. in the morning
What are we
at
doing?
Acton Town Hall, in front of the town hall.
What is
We're celebrating Indian Independence Day, or the
Oh.
75th.
75th.
August
Indian
1st at 11?
And this is because the town voted that once a year.
Yes, last year I think the board kind of said, they set a precedence of how it needs to be done.
Yep.
So the state flag comes down and in place of the state flag for 24 hours, the Indian flag is raised.
That's great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, any other citizens? Okay, moving on. The next item on our agenda is the town meeting debrief, which is our annual discussion of how it all went. So, how'd it go?
Went fast.
It did go fast. Went one night.
Wow.
One night, yeah.
Shouldn't have gone in one night.
No. I
I
think there were
love-
people at the end who would say no.
I was
Me
always
too.
of the opinion that one night would be a worthy goal to strive for, but having actually seen it happen, I don't think it's such a good idea. We spent way too much time on the earlier articles, and the end was just rushed. Plus, in a former time, I was chair of the town meeting improvement committee, and
It's your fault.
no, they didn't do everything. Well, they did some of it. All the pre-recording of presentations was a suggestion.
That was good.
But then they repeated it anyway.
I know, and some people were better on the TV than they were in person. But one of the problems that people didn't like is the fact that you can never predict when an article is going to be taken up. And that was a classic example of, if you weren't going to be there for the whole meeting, you would have had no clue when a certain article was coming up. If you were, and let's face it, people come and go based on what they want to talk about and vote on. They're not all there to vote on every article in the exact order that we decide to take them. So, yeah, as much as I kind of dreamed of a one-night town meeting, seeing it in practice, it was not what I dreamed about.
So in the past, was it typically 2 nights?
Yes.
So the 2 I've participated in are the 2 anomalies?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
special town meetings are usually have a much fewer number of articles.
Oh, okay.
And the annual town meeting has, 30, 35, 40, sometimes 50 articles.
Yeah.
And it's not uncommon for it to take 2. And in fact, it's taken three nights at least once in the last 10 years.
Wow.
I've heard a bunch of feedback that the dog park article should have been either postponed to the next night or taken for earlier in the evening. People were not happy about that because there's some money outlay there in a way, so.
I don't know if it's possible to put a time limit on some of these articles, even the controversial ones. You limit it to 15, 20 minutes, half hour, and then move on to the next one. But I don't know if that's the democratic process. But there was a lot that they stuffed into one night. A lot of articles. Even administrative ones could have been disposed of quickly, but if you have to read all the technical mumbo jumbo behind the article, it sort of defeats the purpose. The warrant was published earlier and it is available on TV as a pre-recorded info commercial. Somehow if we could dispose of some of those technical articles, administrative articles sooner or quicker or seamlessly, and that could free up more time for the more controversial items like budget stuff, school stuff, dog park stuff.
Well, and that was the funny thing, because there wasn't a whole lot of controversy over spending $100 million.
Yeah. We spent
But it
30,
was like that.
we spent 30 seconds on the school budget and we spent 45 minutes on 21 grand. I mean,
Right.
it's not a question of changing the technical concept. It's letting the people that want to speak on the difficult topics speak. One thing that Mr. Noon just said, that one of the things that the townsfolk ask for is to make sure that they know exactly when the articles are going to be done. I believe somebody was telling me about a town where they pull out the warrant articles as a bingo card, so that you don't get that everyone shows up, votes for the school budget, and walks out the door that we've seen on a regular basis.
It's not a bad idea.
But that goes counterintuitive to what Mr. Noon's asking for. But that encourages people to stick around and actually, see what topics come up and not just cherry pick. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing that, considering how quote unquote contentious some of this was, we only had 300 people voting.
Out of 13,000 registered voters?
Yeah, that is appalling. Maybe we should go to a town committee or what do they call it?
Representative town meeting.
Yeah, because 300 people that decide that somebody's $100 million budget is shameful, I think.
I do
And yet
think,
you can't accommodate physically. You can't accommodate much more than that.
What if all 13,000 people showed up one night?
Right.
That would be nice. Isha, what do you say?
yeah, I do think that some of the presentations could have been shorter. I think some of them just went on forever. Another thing that might, I guess, we have to think about what might incentivize people to actually come to town hall, or to town meeting, I'm sorry. Because there's a huge number of reasons that people list for not showing up. A lot of them have to do with young kids and this, that, and other, which I think are very valid concerns. I mean, I've certainly faced them. But I wonder if you could, do something creative, like give a small voucher off your taxes or something like that. I don't know.
Paying people
Crazy
to vote?
idea,
No.
but
Can't do that.
The reverse poll tax.
yeah, exactly.
One thing that could, I think, speed the debate would be if you had one microphone for and one microphone
That
for
is
against.
how it
And then you go
is.
back and forth, because what often happens when it's first come, first serve is you might get 5 people arguing the exact same point and spend
So,
25 minutes
Can
on
I,
it.
can I say
redundant.
so?
Yeah.
It's usually that way when
Yeah.
we do it in the auditorium. There's a
Right.
for and the against microphones and
Ah.
a question microphone.
Yeah, that would be
So-
much more helpful, because
Yeah.
then when you start getting the redundancy on both sides, then the moderator could say, does anybody have a different point of view for or against than we've already
I think
heard?
it's harder when you're outside like that.
Yeah.
When,
Well-
Yeah.
God willing, that's our last outside meeting anytime soon.
And the other thing that was inefficient is going back to physically counting the vote instead of using the clickers,
Clickers,
which worked
Yeah.
pretty well.
Right, I agree.
Which we can assume we'll have at the next
And
meeting.
the next meeting, yes.
Yeah, the clicker does speed it up.
But there is just a, more fundamental question. What's the purpose of town meeting? And it's largely an administrative function. It's not necessarily a debating society. It is the legislative body of the town of Acton. And as such, it has to pass certain bills or articles every year. Budgets would you know, the main one, but there are other administrative things that have to be done. I don't, because of the way the laws are written about citizens petitions and things like that, you don't, it's a very low bar
Yeah.
to get on the warrant. And I don't think the selectmen had any real latitude. If the signatures are there and it's a legal request, they have to put it on the warrant. The question in my mind is, should we limit the debate time on those things, especially non-binding ones?
Or make it,
You know,
or raise the bar on how that gets on the
I
warrant.
don't-
Like, if you only need, is it 12 signatures?
I don't think we have that ability. I think it's a
I think
state.
we do.
Maybe a selectman
Does
can
our
answer that
select board
question.
member happen to know?
I think I thought it was state law.
That would be my guess as well, but we can look into that. Go ahead, Jason.
Separate topic, if we're,
I would just like to add that I would like to see town meeting, especially the supposed annual one, to be set up for 2 nights with a 3-hour stop. And anything that's, and then I would like to see a split of what is anticipated to be the more interested articles on both nights. And that way, you're more likely to get a bigger population at each night. Everybody knows what the hard stop is, and it just doesn't diminish over the night because it's gonna go on and on.
I agree.
And I think representative would be, everybody who already comes would become the representatives, and we wouldn't change anything, so
That's a good point.
I'm not really for that.
My joke about representative town meeting in Acton was, we already have representative town
Yes.
meeting. The problem is they're self-appointed representatives
Yes.
instead of elected. The late night hour was a very big, in the survey that the town meeting improvement committee did, it was said over and over again, they wanted the end time more like 9:30, 10 o'clock, not approaching midnight, or the people that have to get home to their kids who have babysitters or whatever. And, you know, there was just, even though, who was it, Ray Jacoby tried to end the evening early, you know, the people that were there just wanted it done.
What about having it on a Saturday?
In the survey, it wasn't real popular. It was,
Really?
We kind of asked that question, would you come, would you be more likely to come?
For
If it was on a
For some
Saturday.
religious reasons, it might be problematic, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a Sabbath for practice.
So, but I'll, we did a report and our timing was perfect because we announced our funding just before the pandemic started.
So Steve,
Some of it got implemented on the fly pretty much, and there's still a lot that could be done.
so for clarification, the report did say to end at 10 o'clock, or you guys didn't have, I don't remember.
I can't remember the exact wording, but one of the key recommendations was maybe not have a strict agenda, but have a time frame when articles would be taken up, and more importantly, when they wouldn't be taken up. And to provide a family-friendly area, perhaps in the commons area of the high school, where people could just have their kids with them.
Snack bar.
And, but to, end at a fixed time,
Okay.
and move on to the next night, if necessary.
So this town meeting kind of was odd because next day it was outside and next day was rain. So there were
And
issues.
you knew it was
and
gonna be
probably-
raining.
Yeah,
Yep, and it did.
and it did. Yeah.
So, I don't think, I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it, but, we started at 6 and we finished after 11,
And we left.
which is a long time to ask people to sit there and pay attention and focus on issues.
On
And
the
we
other
were there at
hand,
5 o'clock.
yeah, on the other hand, they did some things that, I mean, we should note that they did some things that worked out very well. It was well organized. It was laid out correctly. The big monitor was awesome.
Oh,
The
yeah.
moderators kept control of things. I just think there was too much on the agenda to cover physically, and in one night and do every warrant article justice.
And we didn't start till like 6:25, really.
And it was also, it was also disproportionate, like, some things that are non-controversial took more time than,
Correct.
Yes.
you know, the things that you really want to talk about.
I think that's where, when you have the microphones for each side, you probably get a better impression pretty quickly which way it's going.
Well,
And
you
then
do,
can
because
get
the
to vote
moderator
much
can look at
faster.
the pro and the con mic, and, you know, if there's 25 people lined up at a con
Yeah.
mic and 2 at a pro, then, you know pretty much which way it's going. You don't
Yeah.
have to have all of them saying the same thing.
Correct, yes.
And the other thing
Times.
I know I found out that long ago is for acting, whenever you talk about things that have a technical content, there are a lot of smart people in acting. I mean, PhDs, doctors, experts in any field you want, then, you know, they're there in the audience. And so, you know, you say something wrong, you're gonna be challenged and
Yes.
by an expert. So, you know, it behooves us to, or anyone that puts anything on his warrant articles, that it's gotta be correct and factual.
Absolutely.
All right. Jason, you wanted to,
Just to comment on one of the articles, this is the second time in I think 8 years that the concept of a drive-through window came up and got shot down. My comment on this is, if it's not going to be passed in the height of the pandemic where we're all told to stay at home, it's not going to be passed. So I would say let's not bring it up again, and let that be a kind of a reminder. I've seen a couple of topics get brought up when they think that the memory is gone. So in that particular instance, it wasn't close to 2/3. It should be finished at this point.
Was that taken up late in the night too?
Not that bad.
Yeah,
Midland.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right, excellent. Our next agenda item is election of new committee leadership. Does this require discussion? Does it go straight to a motion if people have members in mind?
Typically, what you would do is ask for nominations.
Do I start at the bottom of the slate? The whole slate? Could I have some nominations?
I'll nominate all 3 if you want.
Excellent. Please, Roland.
So Christine
take it
Russell for
away.
chair, Adam
Right.
Nolby for vice chair, and Sahana Purhoit for clerk.
I
Second.
second that. Yeah.
So now you're asking for any other nominations.
Any other nominations or discussion?
We don't have any fools on this
Who was
committee.
the vice chair? I'm sorry.
Adam.
All right. Adam, are you still up for managing the role?
Oh, yes.
All right, take it away.
Those of you who think I'm sitting here texting my wife, I'm not. I'm taking notes. So we don't have to do
You
a roll call
don't
vote
have to do a
anymore.
roll.
This is
We
true.
have to do a roll call vote, so.
All right.
So all of those in favor, say aye.
That's Christine's
Oh.
vote.
seconded.
Is-
Then it's like, calm down.
What?
You're vice chair.
Oh, sorry. I've been doing it as the clerk
he's been handling it.
because it had to be by roll. and
Ah,
I needed to keep
So now you're gonna have to be retrained to be quiet.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nays? Abstentions? All right. That passes.
Congratulations.
And,
Congratulations.
Sahana, you're not in charge of the minutes. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
Here.
There's no book.
I reminded you of that, so I should.
You know, Sahana, I was going to bring a
Acton
stack
does
of books and papers this tall, and at this moment I was going to slide them over to you.
Yeah,
just,
sure.
Just for the look on your
We saw
face.
that the entire last year.
All right. Now that we've
Speaking of me.
done this for some reason. The committee assignments are the next thing on the agenda. I'm gonna go down the list, and if you would like to maintain your current committee assignment, that would be great, and if you're not, please let me know. I assume that Christie's gonna wanna stay on the budget subcommittee. Jason, are you good for the building?
School building committee, yes, please.
ALG would be myself and Adam. CPC, Roland.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. The Economic Development Committee, Mike.
Sure.
Excellent. The Health Insurance Trust. Steve?
Yeah. I'll stay.
All right. I'm gonna start attending the Minuteman School District school committee meetings because I feel like, we're gonna talk about spending our money.
You have a kid
Kind of have
there,
the
right?
most invested of everyone at this table.
I might have 2 kids there in the fall,
Wow.
so it
If
seems
they're
appropriate somehow. OPEB, Steve?
Yeah, whatever's required, it's usually not much, but yes,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Hopefully Dave is fine to stay on the train station advisory committee and the sewer advisory committee. So what we have open is the Acton Foxborough Regional School District School Committee meetings and the select board
The
meetings.
select group, I did it last year.
Would
so
you
I
like
will-
to
yeah,
continue
I
to
will
do it? Okay. I wasn't sure because it was such an odd year. Okay, so that'd be great. Does anybody want to attend the AB school committee meetings?
I won't be able to attend all of them.
Would you partner with somebody?
I'm happy to partner.
Okay,
I'll partner,
you'll partner? That would be great.
but she's lead.
I'll let you guys fight that out. Great, does
I'll be the junior partner.
anything come to mind where I missed something? I just grabbed this list from last
Planning
year.
board, which I'll still do.
The planning board? Okay, thank you.
I've got the planning.
If you want it, call yours.
The planning board.
I'll keep it. It's not difficult. The only difficulty is they meet on the same nights we do.
I know,
So I'm always about a week behind because I wait
So
for the
Adam,
minutes
do
to
you
come.
want to partner with me on the board meetings?
I just have to make-
On the
We can-
select board meeting?
just have
Yeah,
to
we
get
can
me
do a
thinking.
few.
Yeah, I will. I don't want to overextend myself now that I'm taking on
Yep, ALG will be
the
mornings.
ALG,
Oh, yeah.
but
The vice chair's easy.
Yeah.
It's
I
chair at the
tend
top.
to,
Sure, sorry.
Now you tell me.
but yes, I
School
will,
committee meetings are evenings, right?
Thursday evenings.
Yeah.
So, on the topic of liaisons, we've never had this before, but is it about time that we have a liaison specific to DPW, police, and fire? Because that seems to be becoming a larger portion of the budget every year. Is this something that we should? Are these topics we should start taking on? I suspect the DPW is going to be a big topic in the next couple of years.
yeah, I think we should.
Well, I think you need to wait till that becomes an item.
Well,
It might be premature, but you're right.
I'm not necessarily talking about the DPW building. I'm talking about the DPW in total.
Right,
It's not uncommon for us to have links to non-individual
right.
topic, not individual building topics.
It's difficult to liaise with a department within the town because they don't have meetings per se that you can observe.
Right.
I believe the DPW, whatever it's going to be, facility study is going to have a citizens committee, which I would hope that we would have a member on. In fact, if we don't have a member on, I think that would be a big mistake.
Unwise, yes.
So I think I would tend to say let's wait and see. If there's going to be a committee, we can have a representative on. And if not, I don't disagree that those are the big three: police, fire, and DPW.
I just think that since we get to the end of the year, then we all scramble around discussing, taking our warrant articles. It would be great if we'd actually had a rapport with the group that we're going to be recommending pro or against come town meeting.
Would you mind sending me something on what that liaison would look like in your
Sure.
mind?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I think Adam and I had a discussion not long ago that we'd like to have a greater understanding of the different departments in the town and the way they work and how we end up with the warrant articles and.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke a little bit when I started with the FinCom with someone I know personally who worked in the town of Boxborough and told me that their FinCom, every one of the members of their FinCom is a liaison to one of the departments in the town of Boxborough, which I thought was a really insightful way to, have a better understanding. They would, at least once a year go and meet with those department heads, kind of like the Budget Saturday, except they could do it a little bit more freely. That seemed like a really good idea. both from the FinCom perspective, and then she, as a town worker, said it was also really fruitful from the town's perspective as well. So,
Have we ever explored anything like that, Steve?
Not in my tenure. Jeff used to say that I think when he was on the FinCom in his prior iteration, that they had done more work with police and fire directly.
Okay. All right, excellent, something to explore.
you know, to Jason's point, if there was a liaison, say, to DPW as a department, then you'd know a lot more in advance what's coming down the pipe, right?
Like who's monitoring like the North Acton fire station and stuff like that?
I think whoever is the liaison of the fire department should be doing that. Same thing with any major changes to the police department. Same thing with a multi-million-dollar project that could potentially be coming down the pike at DPW. It shouldn't be something that shows up when the town manager puts his budget out.
Yeah. I think, again, Jason is the perfect example because of how closely you've been involved with the school building project, right? You've been like a personal liaison to the FinCom to that project, and there are no surprises, right? Jason's always on top of what's going on, and we're always informed because of it.
Is there any truth to the rumor they may need the building after you, Jason?
No truth to that at all. No truth to that in the slightest.
All right, excellent. Finance Committee business. We have a number of minutes to approve. Thank you to the town for getting those to us. We have meeting minutes from June 1st and June 21st. Did everybody have a chance to scan through those? Can I have a motion for the June 1st meeting minutes?
I move we approve the minutes of June 1st.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay. I will say this for the last time. You are allowed to vote even if you're not there, but it is generally our practice not to. But I'm not going to reiterate that. Okay, can I have a motion on the June 21st Finance Committee minutes?
I move we approve the minutes of June 21st.
And seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Isha abstains. Okay. Moving on. 1 minute, please.
Wasn't that, did we do the June 1st one?
That was the
Just
first
did it.
one.
Oh, that was the
Yeah,
first one,
we did
okay.
June 1st and June 21st.
I thought you said June 21st first.
We have May 25th meeting minutes to approve. Can I have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of May 25th.
I seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Isha abstains.
It's the
Okay.
April.
I was gonna say, I thought there was one more.
6th.
It's not in the, it's okay. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of April 6th?
I move we approve the minutes of April 6th.
And seconded.
Excellent. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Isha abstains. Okay. Do we have any liaison reports?
I do. It'll be quick. The board met last night. They elected their officers. David Martin, who is here, is the chair. Dean Charter is the clerk. Vice Chair. And Jim Snyder-Grant is the clerk. And the town manager did let us know that the combined dispatch program with Concord, the state has awarded $900K for this program. And then our select board member, Mr. Martin, reported that the weekend train services are back. And if our committee decides to do a hybrid meeting, if anybody wants to go remote, it needs to be, it's a request that needs to go through the town manager, right? If I understood that correctly.
Really?
Yeah. So either we are in person or totally remote, but if we need to do the hybrid, then we need to put in a request. I think two committees have already
Doesn't sound great.
posted their requests for that, planning board and one other committee.
Did they give guidance as to whether or not it's just a formality? That
I think it's a formality for the town manager. He still prefers the phased-in approach for the meetings, in-person meetings. And he feels that it's better if the committees, if they need a hybrid, to put in a request and get it approved.
as long as it's a rubber stamp checkbox for formality, I'm fine with that. But I don't
think
like
so,
the precedent
right?
that
I mean,
it sets
it's
at
just
all.
I would let Selectman Martin speak to that.
So it's, the reason the rules are there is because of the logistics required. So if you're all remote, you just use Zoom, right? If you're all together, you're all together and people are in the audience. If there's mixed, it requires AV. And so the room matters and you need tech support, especially for the case of FinCom, because the meetings are also broadcast over ActonTV. So there are, the mixing of those requires AV. And then we're actually just getting used, we did it for the first time last night. So we had one remote member and we also had remote input at the meeting last night. And you know, there's a Zoom monitor for the people that are in person, but it's all controlled from the back room.
So it looks like it has to be done on a case-by-case basis for each meeting then.
Right, I think unless we put in to go like a hybrid for the foreseeable future, but can I ask if the committee feels comfortable meeting in person from this point on?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd love if I have to be out of town for work, I'd love the option. I mean, that was one of the benefits. And again, it should as long as we know in advance, it should be just a rubber stamp. I don't like the concept of this being, at his discretion. I don't like that at all.
Okay.
Also, I think if the COVID cases go up again, as they're starting to rise, it might be good to have that option because.
I definitely agree with that. David, you wanted to.
Yeah. I should have been clear, there's two different things. First of all, to have a member remote, that's something allowed by state law, as it was pre-pandemic, and you can be by speakerphone or by Zoom. There are certain requirements in state law, you have to meet those, and that's at your discretion. If you want members of the public to be able to participate remotely, that's when you need the AV help. Right? So if you want to, say people who want to be able to come and give comments to you, they have to be present, that's not a problem. If you want to have some be present and some be remote, then you just need to ask for the AV help.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
All right, any other liaison reports?
On the school building committee, that we're going to get more of an update tomorrow night. That said, quite a bit of progress has been done. They just did the second round of tours. If the finance committee would like to go on a tour, they would prefer we do that before school starts. Because it is so close to the Gates property. So that's something I can definitely help try and coordinate. The other thing is that the boardwalk should be just about finished. The one caveat on the boardwalk is there are two viewing stations off of the boardwalk, which were not part of the original plan. And they're now coming back saying to do those two viewing stations would be an extra $100,000. I recommended my strong disapproval of that should not happen. I'm sure it will be brought up at tomorrow night's meeting.
What is the viewing station?
What are they doing?
So are you guys familiar with
boardwalk?
are you guys familiar with the boardwalk between the two sites?
Yeah.
There is
No.
about a third of the way between, just rough estimates, between the Gate side and the Douglas side. There is a fixed platform, jut out, a couple steps out, and then a fixed platform for going and looking into the pond. Similarly, there is a 2/3 of the way down. There is a floating dock that rises and falls with the water level. That was not part of the original plan. It's not required for the passing of people between the parking lot and the school. It's probably going to be said that this was if we have money, we'll deal with it later. My argument is we don't have the money. Period. This is a one and done thing. This should not come out of contingency in any way, shape, or form.
Are these
decision was
things
made.
already in existence and they need repaired, or are
These things are already in
being
existence. All
proposed?
they have to do is be hooked. It's a 90-degree angle hooked back up to the new boardwalk, and that was part of the original. And the hookup was part of the original design and is good to go. But the argument, taking the other side of the argument, which obviously I'm against, but trying to be equitable here. The other side of the argument is it's going to look like a sore thumb compared to this nice, brand new, covered, highly engineered and beautiful walkway. These are going to be two sore thumbs that stick off the side of it. I'm not upset about that.
My opinion would be that it would require at least a handful of us to go tour and talk with the people that are proposing why this is going to cost $100,000, because this doesn't sound like $100,000 project to me. I could maybe swallow $25,000, but even
Yeah,
that seems like a stretch for a floating dock and a and a deck.
Yep.
But prices are very high for materials now, so do it later.
Well, and
What's
that's
coming
part of my argument was we as a town went out of our way to be accommodating. We pushed to get the money taken out, the bond taken out as early as we possibly could when we knew that rates were going to be advantageous. We did not do the death by 1,000 cuts of, well, we'll take out the first quarter on this vote in 3 years, we'll take out another quarter. We got the full amount and we freed up the money for them right away. Now is not the time to say, hey, look, we've got this beneficial upside because we made smart choices, let's go ahead and spend the money elsewhere. So that's the only contentious thing that I see in the near future on the topic. But I am going to say that I'm impressed with how far along the building is. If you've had a chance to even just drive down Elm and take a look at it, you can see there's quite a bit of progress has been made, and they're well on track to having the envelope closed in time for the winter, which is sort of the next scary time in the schedule.
So how can we arrange a walkthrough?
I'll take care of it. I'll get that organized as soon as I can.
So, when it's all said and done, and the building's up and functioning, and the old building's gone,
Both old buildings.
what would be the purpose of having the walkway? Who's going to use it?
Oh, the walkway. Well, the vast majority of the parking is actually going to be on the Douglas side.
Okay.
So everyone who's going to walk from their car needs to have something to walk over. And there are other rules about this walkway. It has to be covered because if there's ice, you can't use salt because it's a protected wetland. Mm-hmm. So it has to be covered. It has to be wide enough for a mechanical plow to go through and get anything that's left on it. It's got to be wide enough. Specific. The specifications are for a width so that you can have traffic going in both directions without having to get blocked off. Oh, and by the way, it had to be signed off by the Army Corps of Engineers. And
Because it goes over wetland.
And we have still not killed the damn beaver. We've still not captured the beaver that is causing the water level to rise and fall in there, even though we thought we'd had him.
So with the connection to these two viewing points, they need to be covered as well? And
No, absolutely
Okay.
not.
Well,
Absolutely not.
But if it's primarily for people to walk from their car to the building, how much time are we going to give them to stop and smell the swamp?
Why don't we get
but
under the bridge troll?
Well, if you drain it, yeah,
that would
let's
charge a fee for everyone that crosses over that bridge.
You're welcome to apply, sir.
They would pay for it.
the real question is whether those viewing points have an educational purpose, I think.
I'm sure they do, but
There
they don't need to be. But they already serve the educational purpose in the role they're at now. They don't need to be beautified.
If they're not dangerous.
There was a
anyway.
time a millennia
They can be
ago
painted
when
to
I
be
had one
attractive.
at Gates and one at Douglas at the same time, so I used to cross that thing a lot. And that was an iteration before, I believe, and it fell down.
Yeah, well, the iteration there when I was on a bunch of years ago, when my son was in playing t-ball. So we're going back probably 6 years ago, 5 years ago. It was falling apart because it wasn't maintained. So,
The point, sorry.
Go ahead.
The point about it being T-ball, I forgot to sell the other half of this. A fair chunk of the athletic fields are going to be on the old Douglas property, so students are going to have to. So it's not just going to be staff crossing the bridge; it's also going to be students. That's why it's got to be as good as it is.
And I would imagine too, there would be parents when the weather's nice that live over on that side, that are gonna park the car, walk the kids across, go back to the car and go home.
Well, if you recall, a whole lot of people swore up and down they couldn't wait to walk to the nice new school. So we'll see about that.
Well,
We
We
beat
beat this one.
All right.
We beat this one to death.
All right, any other reports? Okay, so we've been meeting at 7 PM for the last year plus, because we were on Zoom. And I'd like to know if the committee would like to continue to meet at 7 PM or if you'd like to go back to our more standard 7:30 PM start time.
I went to 7:30,
I would prefer 7:30.
just when I have to start communicating.
We need a motion?
No.
Nope.
I'll
That's
just
completely at the chair's
make it
discretion.
so. Hearing no opposition to 7:30 and some preferences for 7:30, then I think we'll move back to the 7:30 start time. We do have the town hall booked for the foreseeable future for typical meeting times at 7:30.
When's our next meeting?
Tuesdays. Our next meeting is the 27th. I don't know that we have a ton of business to go over at this time.
Can
we
we skip
can
that?
defer
I'm moving
that
we
meeting?
skip that
Yeah,
meeting.
can we just meet in August?
August.
You can. I was gonna see. It's been a long time since Steve did a primer, or my first year here. One of the summer meetings was a sort of an educational meeting on things that maybe don't come up all the time, but things that we end up covering. I don't know if there's any desire for something along those lines, or if Steve's up for running anything like that, or if everybody would just like to have more summer.
Steve has his slideshow, still probably needs some updating.
Look what I got.
Look at that.
That's not a slideshow though.
And could do it. We can do it anytime during the summer. We don't have to do it in 2 weeks.
This is true.
So if people want to take the meeting off, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any pressing need to meet in 2 weeks?
No.
Okay. No. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and plan. If we are going to meet on August 10th, Adam will be running that meeting because I will be out of town.
I'll be at a Boy Scout camp,
So
so I'm out too.
we're all the way to August 24th. Is that in anybody's mind
What if
too late?
we,
So that's too.
what if we did August 3rd instead?
Yeah.
Just question.
Well, you start to screw up the corporate town calendar.
Oh.
They'll get
It
over
affects
it.
other
They'll get
people.
over it.
Second
We've
and
got
fourth
places to
Tuesday.
meet.
They'll
What about my needs?
they'll work it out.
They'll work it out. If we want to meet, we'll be able to meet.
You're not
There's
allowed
plenty
to
of
have
spots.
meetings.
So we could do 3rd and then 24th. You see where I'm
Yeah,
coming from, right?
I see where you're coming from, and I agree.
Where are you coming from?
I will
South
put in.
Oh, but I can't make the 24th.
Well, then we best meet on the 3rd and make it a good meeting.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. Our
Anything
next
anybody
meeting is the
else-
3rd at 7:30.
Anything anybody else would like to comment on? Then I will entertain them. Yes.
Did have a comment, but let me make this note.
I will
And then let me see if I
pause.
can remember what my comment
Sure.
was.
We'll just head
Because
it
now I
out.
can't remember.
You can have some Jeopardy music. That would be useful. There we go.
You need to get some
Not
food
helpful.
factor? Oh, August 3rd, I got it.
Interested in the whole winter too.
Figure something.
And these are going to be in town
Somebody's
hall,
gotta book the
right?
room. So
I will book the room and I will send out the schedule for the foreseeable future, so we can put it in their calendars. And
7:30.
I will let Christy and Dave know, and I will continue to drag this out as long as I can in case Adam, comes to whatever it was he wanted to say.
Gosh.
Did we just elect him vice chair?
You did.
Let me see what's in my notes.
He's so used to not showing his
They just think I
face
can rescind
at
that,
the
can they?
meetings.
Perhaps it'll come to you later. And
Oh, it'll come right as soon as we
adjourn.
adjourn the
Nice.
meeting. It'll probably come to me.
We'll be sure to not discuss it.
Yeah,
I
I don't have it. I'm
will
sorry.
entertain a motion.
To adjourn?
I think it's easier to
Maybe
go.
move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we are out.